Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Linda and the entire family, I'd like to thank all of you for your kindness in being here. Before we start, I ask everyone to take a moment, take out your phone, and make sure that it's silenced or turned all the way off. I thank you.
Eli, Eli, shelo yigamer leolam, achol v'hayam, rish urush shel hamayim, berak hashamayim, tvilat ha'adam, hachol v'hayam, rishru shel hamayim, berak hashamayim, tilat ha'adam. O Lord, my God, I pray that these things never end. The sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart, the sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart. It seems only a month ago that Marty came in for services, sit in his seat, which now sits empty. And when I welcomed him, he looked at me and he said, there are some things that I have to have all the time, as long as I can have them. Eli, Eli, lo yigamer le'olam. Lord, my God, I pray that these things never end. Marty, things will never end, for his presence here will always be felt, and his prayers will continue to always be heard.
Isa anay elharim mi ayin vozri. Is you meet anay osay shemayim va'aretz. I lift my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come? It comes from God, the one who made heavens, the one who made the earth. Do not suffer your foot to be moved. God who keeps you will not slumber. God who keeps Israel and all humanity neither slumbers nor sleeps. The Lord is your keeper, the Lord is your shade upon your right hand. The sun will not smite you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you all evil. God will keep your soul. The Lord shall guard your going out and your coming in, time forth and forever. That sense of forever has been shifted this week. For Marty, and we'll more about this a little bit later, Marty, as you know, was 90 years plus. That's close to forever. Me, in my tenure at Temple Bethel, that seat of forever seat. As Cantor Davidson mentioned, it looks empty. Don't be surprised. There's no empty there. There was no emptiness. Marty, and with the words from Psalm 121, we look to the heavens, we look up to the heightens, but when we were in Marty's presence, we just up to him. Although in truth, it was a privilege to look down, but it wasn't really looking down. It was peering with a peer. And so we turn, as our tradition has, to the words of the Psalms. Those words we heard a moment ago from Psalm 121. And I would suggest that Psalm 15 speaks of the kind of person which truly was Marty Herman. That is very best. And even when he was driving towards his best, we hear that echo being in these words from the psalmist, which read, Dear God, abide in your house, may dwell in your mountain. Those who are upright, who justly, who speak the truth within their hearts, do not slander others or wrong them or bring shame upon them, who scorn the lawless, but honor those who revere God, who give their word and come what may, do not detract, who do not exploit others, who cannot be taken. Those who live in this way, as Marty lived and strove to live, those who live in this way shall never be shaken. And our tradition, it deems the 23rd Psalm a psalm of comfort, speaks of images, meanings for which we seek to drive from wherever we might stand. But its implication is that somehow there's an intimate presence of the Holy One of us. It speaks of offering comfort, a rod and a staff. And I dare suggest that part of its message is that we are not grieving here at all alone. We're grieving not only a room filled with friends and with family, but the message of the third psalm is that grieving with the Holy One as well. For God is only the giver of life, but God is one who grieves with the lost one. So these words, with the familiar cadence, perhaps offer us that intimacy that we're grieving with the Most High. More David, Adonai Rowi Lachsar, Bidesha Yabitsei Yamenuchoti Nachaleni, Nafshi Vev, Yan Cheni V'Mag Leit Zerik L'Ma'an Shemu, Gam Kielech Begates Al-Mavet, La Irara Kiat Imadidi, Shivtecha, Umishantecha, Hedi Nachamuni, Ta'aroch Lafananai Shulchan Negatorai, Dishan Hashemen Rashi, Kosiravia. Ach tov v'chesed yirtefuni kol yemei chayai, v'shav beit Adonai l'orech mim. I invite you to join with me, if your memory prevails, to recite the words in English. A song of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall want. God makes me to lie down in green pastures, me beside still waters, restoring my soul. God guides me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, cup, it overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
When troubles come and my heart burdened indeed, then I am still and hear in the silence until you come and sit while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on the mountain. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your cruise. so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. Raise me up more than I can do. You raise me up more than I can
Today, reflect on a life of beyond 9 decades. A non-Nigerian who celebrated right here a few months ago, entering one more decade towards being a centenarian. So yes, today more individuals live to such spans than ever before. Yet it is still a special feat to live for most of a century and to the next century. Imagine how much of the world and history it was Marty's fate or privilege to have experienced and witnessed. The Depression, the war, Korea, post-war America, a world of technology, all of which Marty mastered, while also mastering the arts and science and experiencing his own losses and his own blessings. And through it all, there was Marty's commitment to learning and the intellect, to living with thoughtfulness, decency, and dignity, and growing and evolving as his own person as well. What sustained a man through such thing in so many years? I suggest another verse of Psalms, offering a thought that fits this day, fittingly and appropriately from Psalm 90. We read, Limnot Yanukeno Denovav Chochma. Teach us to number our days, that we may get us a heart of wisdom. Heart of wisdom attained over a lifetime of days was indeed Marty's blessing. And in truth, I trust you would agree. Here was a man who gained that wise heart, prophet of a lifetime with its joys and pains, its achievements and losses. Marty, the youngest, worse than youngest, he was a twin, and we weren't quite sure whether it was him or Jerry. The youngest or second son of Joseph and Gina Herman, remaining immigrants. Admittedly, he had a mixed childhood. Brother to Eddie and his twin Jerry. There were stresses, and Marty would leave New York City and the Bronx of Science to complete high school upstate, where being 6'5" at age 13, he played basketball. Go figure. But his love was baseball, and understand he was good. He actually was offered a contract to play in the New York Yankees minor league system. But these guys named Maggio, Mantle, and Maris studying the outfield decided that there wasn't room for him. And if he didn't play baseball, Marty wanted to be a doctor. Yet that too is a circuitous route. But he would take it. His calculating mind not only figured that it was improbable that he'd find a place in the Yankees, but also determined that his proper place was going to be in the military. So seeking a way into medicine, Marty enlisted in the Army and became an Army medic. And he saw awful service in Korea, about which he rarely spoke, but notably, he did cry. Indeed, teach us to know our days. For Marty, those days became years. 20 years as his military career offered him repeat opportunities for studying and for growth. Eventually, a PhD, he did become Dr. Herman. And the military was his opportunity to meet Virginia at age in the mid-Atlantic. And they married, and they had nearly 4 decades together, learning to grow, building a family, during their challenges and suffering the deepest pain of loss. It was suggested that Marty needed all of his days and more to overcome the horrors he witnessed in war. Luckily, although he didn't know it then, luckily he had PTSD before we ever knew what the phrase meant. And likely that condition impacted so much of his early adulthood, his first marriage, and his early parenting. Those pains and that anger, they were really far away. And Marty became Dad, Gordon, and Norman Joe. And he was a demanding dad, expecting achievement from his sons in academics and ethics. He was a father whom his boys could both admire, and they did, and to tell the truth, almost fear, and they did. Joe learned not to ask father for help with the math homework. He would get some other kind of response. Gordon became an Eagle Scout, a medical doctor, and Marty still learned how to recognize their achievements because his were so high, his expectations. In truth, I must just ask, it must have been difficult being a brilliant son of Marty Herman, because brilliance clips so many others, and brilliance was that which he started himself and his family. Yet in our conversations, the respect and pride of Marty's sons shined with a loving radiance, even more brilliant than reflects the gifts which this man gave to his sons. But there was more, as he received the gift of Matt and Danny in marrying Linda. And Marty was no less demanding, perhaps a little bit easier on the view. After all, he taught you physics, Danny. That's pretty cool. I would compete with you, Matt, do the crosser puzzle each morning in pen. There was no other way to each of you. Gordon was with us by distance, Joe, to Matt, to Danny. Here was one who was more the father, who was a model. He was the bar set high, and I think he kept moving it higher and higher. It's only he could do. But each of you found your way to meet it. Cherish him as he cherished you. And cherishing him and helping him to grow and learn and be more of himself was Linda. Indeed, this place was a platform as it brought the two of you together. Marty finding you, Linda, a partner for discovering the undeveloped yourself nascent in him. And you be together, often right there, 3 decades. Yes, you had much in common when you met, but even more you forged your life as you built up a family, took turns on the board, and traveled the country, traveled the world, with beloved League of Women Voters, and more importantly, with each other as your beloved. Yes, Marty was there for your children. In truth, you and your children were there for him. How lucky you were that 30 years ago, a couple of templesmen and wives felt sorry for you and for Marty. Imagine that, at the two of you together. How lucky not only you, but how lucky all of us. Remember him with unbridled love. But there was more. Marty's privileged to have 3 grandchildren, 3 grandsons, and 2 granddaughters. And acknowledge Kyla sitting right there. You truly had a grandpa, if I might say, whom you could truly look to. Whether sitting next to you or he was standing way over you. I hope that he set the bar no less high for you. And know that you will reach your own heights as well. Teach us to number days, that we may get us a heart of wisdom. In Marty, that was a lot of days. And it must have been a hell of a heart, because there was a hell of a lot of wisdom. And we all know it. When Marty was there, with apologies to everybody else, he was the smartest one in the room. Recovering his Jewishness when discovering Linda, Marty came a bar mitzvah at age 83. If you don't know the Jewish tradition, our Psalms teach us that 70 is the lifetime, in fact it's 90. The 70 lifetime of a Jewish person. So at 71 we start counting all over again until we reach 83, and then we do the bar mitzvah all over again. Marty was a first, and the picture of him with the Torah is right there in our lobby. He studied Torah and he studied Talmud with vigor. Not just that, Marty read everything. He knew something much about everything, and he called every new technology. He was taking things apart and putting them back together again since he was a child. And then he took up painting and building sailboats, photography. We thought Da Vinci was the Renaissance. Da Vinci never ever tackled nuclear science. You may teach us to number our days. Sometimes, as Marty knew well, that heart of wisdom is also built on a heart of tears. This man, with joy and with tears, had a will of strength and a mind not succumb to the years or to the tears. It's remembered. I can visualize it. He's screaming in the car after Virginia died. And his combativeness and research when confronted with own physical limitations. There are always a lot of days yet to be numbered. And to speak of Marty and death isn't coincident, because his life was so compelling. Even in the hospital a little over a week ago, I remember our conversation. He was just totally cogent, totally well. And yet, the seat is empty. And I'll commit Marty to the realm of cherished memory. After more than 9 decades, in which he saw both oppression and war, and family and generations, Marty lived to the end of our verse. Teach us to number our days, may get us a heart of wisdom. Marty set an example of living each day, of learning each day, of being deeply and profound, even when he didn't show it, for the ones whom he loved each day, even when he was learning how to do so. As we remember Marty, may that wise heart warm us, may his brilliant wisdom guide us. May each of us be inspired in Marty's name to acquire for ourselves that heart of wisdom. And will the name Marty Herman ever and always abide as a blessing. Zecher Tzadik Livracha. Now, we're privileged to hear some personal tributes from family and from friends. From Matt, from Irv, from Art, and from Gordon.
I'm Matthew and his oldest son. I'll speak on behalf of my brother Dan and myself. Hello, all you beautiful people. When Dan and I first met Marty, it was a rough time. Mom was still dealing with her divorce and the suddenly very different life situation with two teenage boys at home. Marty showed up to our door for the first time to take my mom out. And when I opened it to look at him, I really didn't have a choice. He stepped through the door into our lives and into a situation I'm not sure he was ready for. He became not only in love for Mom, but a new figure to stabilize landscape. I didn't know at the time was that it was stabilizing for him as well. In this situation, he's to walk the line of being a father and appropriately off, which somehow he pulled off as though he'd read the manual and completed all the practice problems. Of course, knowing Marty, he may have actually done all of that. Marty assimilated it, he did not intrude. It's true when I was with Mom and Marty, when I was fresh out of college, Marty and I always raced to see who get to the crossword puzzle in the morning. If he got there first, then it would be completed in minutes in a pen. That was a bit of a rule for Marty. He didn't believe in mistakes, therefore there was no pencil. However, if I got first, I would get a slow start and he would come in and join me. Then we'd complete it together. And over time, I learned the secrets of the puzzles and how to read the clues, how to find patterns and answers. And in this way, he was always teaching me things while we were solving puzzles in life. And like I said, you people are beautiful. Marty always said that the word beautiful, instead of the way most people say it, beautiful, which takes the word beauty out of it. I believe pronounced it that way because he was always searching for the beauty in this world. Okay. You may not know that Marty was also an accomplished artist. You probably do. He was a painter, a photographer, and he even built model ships. When you visit a house, you've probably seen the model of the Charles Morgan ship that he built. His art detail unusual. It allowed him to capture the beauty in many ways with balance. Whether it was painting still life, watercolors, capturing moments, camera, across this world, his focus and eye for color was amazing. He could cultivate roses and a more beautiful garden I've had to see. Roses require the right amount of light, water, and pruning. A challenging flower to raise and cultivate, with the reward of the fragrance lasting a short while. But a gift for all who visited the home. Marty taught me much about the beauty of flowers, appreciation, the effort it takes, the thorns one takes in the hands to do the beautiful rose. Marty had a fond appreciation for our national parks. One of the few people I've ever met who carried a passport with stamps from all the parks he visited. I worked as a ranger at Muir Woods, and when I did, he came to visit me many times. And we took strolls in the park, together mulling at this redwood trees, one of the few things on this earth taller than him. These giants humbled him and I, and we all discussed the importance of protecting our national valuable resource. Some folks like to go to Hawaii, and others go to Europe. Marty loved our national parks. Marty was a practiced exceptional chef, I'm sure you're all aware, and he liked to try things and to cook for everyone around him, whether it was blueberry pancakes or fresh baked bread, or even a super fast prepared stir fry. He knew techniques, the science behind the ingredients, the myriad of tools required, and he'd give me little snippets of key advice along the way, things he'd throw out. Matthew, hot and cold oil, food won't stick. And I remember a lot of these things, and I still do this with the hand. Marty was one of the smartest people I've ever known. And every year I struggled to find books for him on subjects he didn't know anything about. Though we could always find a book on Civil War history, and he would enjoy it if you couldn't dream up a birthday gift for him. His math, science, and physics education was what enabled him to save lives with his mind. He figured out where to use radiation and how much, for how long. In the body, a complicated thing. He solved the math problems. It saved lives, thousands of lives he saved. And when he tried to retire, it took him 10 years because no one could do it as well as he could. Marty saved lives with his mind, but he saved my mom with his heart. He saved my mom with his heart. He was one of the biggest guys I've known, and he had one of the biggest hearts. And he shared tips, what he knew of art, cooking, travel, adventure, garden science, with Mom and with all of us. Those things were all great, but really the most important thing he shared was time. It was the most valuable gift that he offered all of us.
Good morning. My wife and I are relative newcomers to Temple Bethel. We've only been here 17 years. Some of you have been here maybe 10 times that, for I know. My first encounter with Marty occurred about 17 years ago, and I use the word encounter advisedly, because the first time you meet him in these days, not only did you have to look up, but you had to look around. But he was not, if you got to know him a little bit, he was a gentle, wonderful soul. He had many qualities that we all should aspire to. He had purpose in his life. He had a great sense of responsibility. As a member of the Religious Action Activities Committee, for many years, he managed the complex details of the High Holy Days. And I was thinking about that last night, and the High Holy Days are something like a grand opera. There are star performers, Rabbi Lieb of blessed memory, Peter Davidson. There were bidders, congregants who took part in the service. There were other things to be concerned about. And just like Grand Opera has an impresario, Marty was the impresario of the High Days for many years. I was fortunate to take over for Marty and run High Holidays. And when I did that, he presented me with the most detailed instructions you imagine. So it was a piece of cake. He didn't tell me how to handle prima donnas, however. Marty attended Bible study regularly with Rabbi Briskin, and because of his deep sense of history and his knowledge of ancient worlds, he very often complemented the discussions that Rabbi Briskin led on Torah and other readings. Sharon and I never had the pleasure of traveling with Marty and Linda, I'm sure that those of you who have know that he always added information that not even the tour guides knew. He a very inquisitive mind. As for Bible study this year, regretfully, Marty's diocese requirements precluded him from attending remarkable sessions with Rabbi Cohn. He would have reveled them as I do. Marty, to me, an exemplar of a person with an equivalency of right brain, left brain activity. We already know about you've heard a lot about his analytical abilities, his research abilities that led to a PhD and a career. But many of you do not know of his creative abilities, which you've heard also a bit about. Art, oil colors, oil painting, watercolors, that remarkable model of ship that you could see under glass at his home, which was just a marvel to see. The detail the craftsmanship that he employed to build this model is just remarkable. Anytime one entered the home of Marty and Linda, there was always music playing, and Marty was a lover of music, had a very eclectic appreciation of music. And of course, there were the Roses. Marty was loyal. He was confident of and comfortable in his Reformed Judaism. You could be assured that he would hear Erev Shabbat in that chair. And even at the time he couldn't walk by himself to that chair, his Eshet Chayil, his man of valor, would bring him in. He was also comfortable in his I said that in his Reformed Judaism, but he also was a strong supporter of Israel, being, of course, of his finances, more importantly, of his generous appreciation for the geopolitics involved, and attended many APAC meetings with Linda. On a more personal note, Marty was one of the original members of the Romeos. The Romeos are a war group of old men eating. That's retired old men eating Romeo. That has now since become Romeos and Juliets, of course. He was always attending, participating, and again, when he was unable to walk himself, Linda very graciously and wonderfully brought him to share his knowledge with us. In my mind, Marty is a modern Renaissance man and a good man. In my heart, he's my dear friend and my hero. I will miss him greatly, as I know all of you will. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Zimmerman, and I'm a retired radiation oncologist. Radiation oncologists hire physicists. They do calculations, they do radiation safety, they do treatment planning. That's what they do. For the most part, they're quiet, introverted type people. And then one day I'm naughty. And I came home and I said, I'm disguised as a giant of a man, and it's more than just the paper. He likes the bull. Marty quickly became a companion, actually a partner. I didn't make decisions without Marty. And if Marty would shed a little bit, I'd have to rethink the whole thing. And he was a wonderful teacher. He had the ability to correct you and lead you, not ever demeaning you. And he loved to take other people, our radiotherapists, and bring them up, teach them some things with a great deal of patience and kindness. Marty was a mensch. I don't know how else to put it. A multifaceted mensch, but a mensch. As I said, Marty read a lot. He knew so very much he used to scare me. Every once in a while, like his facts, they were, oh, bang on. Bother. I said to him one day, Marty, you sure you're not 112? How did you get all this stuff on? And at the year 2000, I moved from St. Francis to Harbor, which was Marty's home base operations. I immediately had a whole bunch of friends. I know not that much of a charmer. But the friends were friends because I was a friend of Marty's. And therefore, I had to be okay. Marty was in the Army, as many know, for 25 years. And we used to do a lot of surgery at Harbor. And he one day said, I'll help you out. Well, Marty was a surgical tech. And the best I ever saw. The only fault is he schwitzed a lot. But nobody's perfect. Sometimes you do things in your life that you're really proud of, or lucky, or happy. Stoolbox were members of this congregation, Dr. and Mrs. and Louise and I. When Marty lost Jeannie, his first wife, he's lost. And Mrs. Stoolbox said, I know this really nice girl named Linda. I met her too. She was at that time, I don't know if you were president of the League of Voters or something like that. And I said, she's bright. And she says, she's very bright. Marty couldn't handle dumb women. But I never fixed anybody. But Marty, I said, you have to call this lady. You have to call her. And he did. And I had the pleasure of attending their wedding in this synagogue, and actually the privilege of signing the ketubah. The ketubah, for those of you who don't know, was a marriage contract. And it was marriage made in it. It was a marriage. They loved each other, they supported each other. And Linda, Marty to the shul. Marty had a whole birth of religion when he married Linda. He was a member of this temple and a member in very good standing. Anyhow, there's a wonderful Hebrew prayer, which my son taught me. It's called Life is a Dream. And basically, to paraphrase the whole thing, you go from victory to defeat to defeat to defeat. And it's not destination that counts. It's how you made the journey. And Marty did a wonderful job. Shalom, my friend. Thank you.
With permission. Let's see if we get it.
I'm not used to reading things. I'm used to improvising speeches, but I was to write this out, so I will read it and hopefully will not stumble over it. Hello, I am Gordon, Marty's eldest son, smallest son. Many of you have probably heard of me as the wayward son, living in Portland, Oregon, who abandoned sciences to take the vows of poverty as a musician. Whatever he told you about me is true. Originally, I was going to give a biographical details about Dad, how he born in a log cabin and wrestled a bear with his bare hands. But I was informed that these details were common knowledge. Instead, it was suggested I should tell personal stories about Dad. My earliest memory of Dad is watching him fence when we were in France. Due to my age of 2.5, the room where this took place seemed enormous to me, but in reality was probably a regular size gym. I was sitting on my mom's lap with sunlight streaming through the windows that were behind us. Dad and another man were in their white fencing outfits crossing swords. Though it is a brief scene, the quite vivid memory stuck with me my entire life. The other day, Matt asked, what was this funny story that I remembered about Dad? This is a story I've told many times, and that would be the time we were camping in Big Sur when I was 4 years old. It was the morning, and my brother Norm, who was 2, and I were fascinated by a yellow Hannah slug inching his way across the ground while my dad was frying up some bacon, sorry about that, on the grill over fire. All of a sudden, a scrub jay flew down from the tree, snagged a strip of cooking bacon off the grill, and flew away. I remember my dad standing there, shaking the spatula at the fleeing felon, yelling, I hope you choke on it. When I was about 5, Dad came home in his dress army uniform, but he wasn't wearing a brimmed cap. Instead, it was cradled in his hands. Comfortably curled up in the cap was a tiny dachshund puppy that became our family dog. He let me name it, and I called him Rex after a dog in a story that Dad had read to Norm and me. In the story, Rex had been a heroic German shepherd, but to me, this tiny dog that he brought was heroic and big. Dad had a variety of snippets and songs that he would say or sing at various times. One of my favorite snippets is one that he sang to the tune of John Phillips' Stars and Stripes. Be kind to your web-footed friends, for that duck may be somebody's mother. I only sang it marginally better than he did. Then there was the talk, the father-son talk. Usually, Dad was quite loquacious, but this time he was quite succinct. Remember the Boy Scout motto, he said, be prepared. Suffice to say, I was as well informed after our conversation as I was before. Discussions with Dad were always interesting. As you all know, has been referred to here, he was quite knowledgeable on a range of topics, which any time I had a debate with him, you were lucky to score a point, never win. I do remember and treasure the one time that I did score a point in a discussion with him. It was after I started studying music at UCLA. We were a family gathering, and the discussion turned to music. He asked, how could I still enjoy music after having learned how it worked? Would it not rob the joy of music? And I said to him, you could play right out from memory formulas of several sugars. Sugars still taste sweet to you. That gave him pause, and for a moment, I favored probably the only victory I ever had against him. One of my last memories of being with my dad is one of the funnest. You heard when I was here last October's 90th birthday celebration. Dad had come to terms with the fact I was never going to grow up, but instead would be a musician for the rest of life. Over the course of the last several years, we found that we shared a common interest in Leonard Bernstein and Benny Goodman. We spent an afternoon listening to music. I brought up a YouTube video of Goodman playing the Connect Concerto that he commissioned from Aaron Copland, with Copland conducting Los Angeles Philharmonic. We then watched the entire performance of Bernstein conducting Beethoven's Ninth Symphony on Christmas Day, 1989, after the wall had fallen in Berlin, that he had brought up on YouTube for us to watch. He may not have been happy with me becoming a musician, but on that day, we shared the joy of music. I want to close with something Norm, my middle brother, wrote as part of a longer biographical sketch about Dad. A sketch somehow he glossed over the fact that Dad had been born in a log cabin and the barehanded. They're Norm's words. He was an amazing man. He wasn't perfect. No one is. But he was my father to the moment's time with us. We can mourn and be sad on this occasion, but I think it is more important to celebrate the long and good life that Marty lived. He had a presence bigger than life. He had a laugh that filled the room, and knowledge base contributed to any conversation. He was a friend to many. He was a giving and helpful man. If he were here right now, he'd tell you all to cheer up and celebrate life with him. Dad, I am sorry I won't be able to celebrate your third bar mitzvah with you. I miss you. I love you. And celebrate your presence in my life and our lives. Thank you.
Matt, your words are magnificent, but your ears were even more. Irv, your candor is always fresh and brilliant. Art, you do have charm. The charm of your family that brought this together. And Gordon, you made your father's life as various elements of harmony, and each of us experienced it through you. And I'm so glad you told stories, and that you keep telling them, because there's so many to share. Each of us have our tears, our candor, the charm, and the stories which Marty bequeathed to us. Now, in his memory and devotion to that which he would inspire us to live, we would rise to offer our memorial prayer, the El Rachamim.
תחת כנפי השכינה ומלאות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע המזהירים את נשמת משה יוסף שהלך לעולמו בעל הרחמים אז תראהו בסתר כנפיך לעולמים וצרור בדבר החיים ונשמתו אדוני הוא נחלתו וינוח בשלום על משכבו God, exalted and full of compassion, Grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure. To the soul of Marty Herman, who has gone to eternal home. Master of mercy, we beseech you, remember all the worthy and righteous deeds that he performed in this land of the living. May his soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. God is his portion. May he rest in peace. And let us all say, Amen.
You may be seated. In just a few moments, we will be leaving here and proceeding to Green Hills Memorial Park for the interment portion of the service. And I'm sure most of you know where it is. Those who don't, it's just a few miles up the road, and we have a handout that has driving directions to the cemetery. Please keep in mind we are not going in a formal procession. We'll simply be reconvening there when everyone arrives. I'm going to ask that everyone remain seated while we take basket bearers, the immediate family, and we exit through the doors over the parking lot. Once we exited, then ask everyone else to go ahead and exit through the main foyer. Following the service at Hills, everyone is invited to join family for the meal of consolation at their home in Rancho Palos Verdes. Again, that same handout that we'll have in the foyer has the address if you need it. There will be Shiva in there at the family's home at 7 p.m. tonight. So again, following the service, you're invited there, and then 7 p.m. will be the formal Shiva Minyan. Again, all of that is on a handout. There's also on handout a couple of suggestions for anyone who wishes to memorialize Marty with a donation, and it lists some suggestions. Following, we'll be serving as basket bearers. Gordon Herman, Joe Hearn, Daniel Broder, Matthew Broder, Rachel Broder, George Mayer, David Uwitz, and Elliot Swartz. So again, I'll ask that everyone allow us to first exit, and then we'll go ahead out through the main foyer. And if I may ask the basket bearers to please forward.